Honey, be gentle. My wife, Jessica Davis, murmured playfully. We haven't really been together like this in half a year. Of course, I've missed you. Just as she finished speaking, her phone rang. My wife, who had been lost in the moment, her eyes hazy, instantly snapped alert. She reached for the phone beside the pillow, glanced at the screen, and answered without hesitation. Yeah, okay, I'll be right over. I was stunned. After hanging up, she paid me no mind. In an instant, she went from a gentle lamb to an agitated wolf. She forcefully pushed me off her. Babe, just 2 more minutes. No, Alex Wilson is having another depressive episode. He said if I'm not there in half an hour, he's going to jump. I have to go check on him. You wait here for me, okay? Be good. Mwah. As she spoke, she quickly got dressed, gave me a peck on the cheek, and dashed out the door. Honey, don't go. Come back. My eyes snapped open, and I sat bolt upright, hands reaching out as if trying to grab something. Honey, what's wrong? Were you having a nightmare? A gentle voice asked beside me, and then I was pulled into a warm embrace, filled with her familiar scent. I rubbed my face, realizing it had just been a dream. Honey, I just had the most realistic dream. You seemed so distant in it. In the dream, you had this childhood sweetheart. We were being intimate, and he called, and you just dropped everything and left me to go to him. Don't worry, it was just a dream, she soothed, stroking my head. Relax, honey. I would never leave you. Her comforting words made me feel much better. Hearing you say this life. Does that mean you left me in a past one? I joked. No, of course not. Don't be silly, she chided me playfully. My head was buried against her chest, so I couldn't see her expression. Okay now, go back to sleep. You have work tomorrow. I lifted my head and looked at my stunningly beautiful, completely naked wife. The passion from the dream still lingered, and I suddenly pushed her back down onto the bed. Honey, didn't we just do this before falling asleep? I want you again. You greedy thing. You never get enough. Looking back, Jessica Davis and I met, fell in love, and got married in less than a month. It was right after I graduated college and was looking for a job. I just finished my resume, hadn't even sent it out yet when I got a job offer from a major telecom giant in the country. The next day, I dressed sharp, looked at my tall, handsome reflection in the mirror, and thought how incredibly lucky I was. When I got to the company, I asked for directions to HR. After a brief check-in, they took me straight to the CEO's office. The moment I knocked and went in, Jessica Davis spun around in her chair, and our eyes met. She stood up. She was wearing a heavily embellished black pantsuit. The tailored fit perfectly outlined her stunning curves, and the subtle flare of the pants accentuated her long legs. Intricate beading and detailing all over spoke of luxury and quality. It was the kind of outfit that gave a woman a powerful, sophisticated presence in the workplace. In that instant, my mind just blanked. I stared at her dumbfounded, completely forgetting to introduce myself. Ethan Thompson, right? Welcome to the company. Starting today, you'll be my assistant. You got here so early. You probably haven't eaten yet, have you? I haven't either. Come on, I'll take you downstairs for a quick bite. We'll celebrate properly tonight. With that, she grabbed my hand and started pulling me out the door. And no, it's okay. I already ate this morning. And, my major was computer science. I really don't know anything about being an assistant. This was my first real job. I've been so excited last night, I couldn't sleep, running through countless scenarios of meeting my boss and planning how I'd react. But I definitely hadn't anticipated this. She dragged me along by the hand, no arguments allowed, straight into the breakfast diner. My new colleagues saw us and were stunned. What's going on? Is El Niño hitting extra hard this year? The 1,000-year-old iceberg is actually melting. Tell me about it. Everyone who knows Ms. Davis knows she's usually cold towards people, especially men. Yeah, she rarely talks to men unless it's business. Guys who approach her with bad intentions end up regretting it badly. Isn't she rumored to dislike men? Maybe she changed her mind. Didn't you see that fresh college grad? Tall, handsome, looks so young and fresh. If I were Ms. Davis, I wouldn't be able to resist either, huh? Come on, Ms. Davis isn't old either. They're probably around the same age, right? Being CEO at her age is unprecedented, though. Then again, some of her ideas are just way ahead of their time. Stuff we wouldn't even think of. In the diner, I stare at the breakfast she'd ordered for me. It was all my favorite stuff. I wondered if, in my days earlier, she'd asked what I liked, and I'd answered without even realizing it. Then she ordered 2 bottles of organic whole milk. I like Coke. I blurted out. Nope, that stuff's unhealthy. You can't drink it anymore, either. As she said this, she instantly transformed from a sweet, gentle older sister figure into the serious, stern CEO. She sounded exactly like my mom. I could only manage a meek, okay. Her being friendly was one thing. But why was her gaze filled with such affection? I mean, I knew I was good-looking, but I wasn't that narcissistic. Ms. Davis, I still feel my major isn't really suited for an assistant role. I think I'd be a better fit for her. I hesitated, but decided to voice my thoughts. Before I could finish, she cut me off. I've reviewed your profile. Putting you in development would be a waste of your talent. In my opinion, you're better suited for business management. Learn the ropes alongside me for a few months first. But I still think. $100,000 a month. Promotion to vice president in 6 months. I consider myself a fast learner. Somehow, all my earlier doubts and anxieties vanished completely. Suddenly, I felt extremely confident about my ability to excel as an assistant. We had a pleasant meal and a great conversation. Strangely, sitting across from this powerful CEO, who was also stunningly beautiful, I didn't feel nervous at all. Instead, I felt relaxed, like there was something familiar and comforting about her. Back at the office, I started my job as her assistant. I wasn't familiar with the work at first, and navigating office relationships wasn't exactly my strong suit, so I made quite a few mistakes. But the usually stern Jessica Davis was surprisingly patient with me. Even when I messed up, she would just encourage me. After I corrected my errors, she'd look at me with doting eyes and say, "Great job." Maybe I really was a fast learner, or maybe word got around that I was Ms. Davis's favorite. Whatever the reason, before long, I was thriving at the company, fitting in like a fish in water. Everyone praised me for being sharp-looking and capable. Even the company VP was polite and courteous whenever he needed something from me. That is, until I overheard them gossiping behind my back. They were saying I was definitely Jessica Davis's kept man, a pretty boy living off her. Some comments were even cruder, suggesting I was useful all over, long fingers, good tongue, keeping Ms. Davis happy and satisfied. Hearing this stuff behind my back always upset me. The truth was, I worked really hard, and I'd successfully completed every task Ms. Davis had given me so far. Yes, the salary and bonuses were incredibly high, but what could I do? I could hardly ask for a pay cut. Today, like usual, I picked up takeout for Jessica Davis from the hotel restaurant. Her favorite dishes, which coincidentally were also mine. Our tastes were surprisingly identical. I went to her office, knocked, and entered. She was busy with some documents. I set the food down and turned to leave. "Wait, why did you only get one serving today? Where's yours?" Jessica Davis glanced at the takeout container I'd already opened, complete with utensils laid out. She put down her papers and looked at me questioningly. I figured I'd just go eat in the cafeteria with everyone else. People are getting the wrong idea about me always eating in here with you. I scratched my head, explaining apologetically. Honestly, I didn't mind for myself, but she was the CEO. Scandals wouldn't be good for her reputation. She stood up, walked over, pulled me toward her chair, and pushed me down into it. "Ethan, did you overhear what they were saying?" "Yeah, people in the office have gotten the wrong idea." What if I told you it's not the wrong idea? That I really have fallen in love with you?" Jessica Davis stared directly at me, unblinking. Her expression didn't look like she was joking. Hearing this, I was utterly shocked. It felt like a goddess confessing her love to a mere mortal. In my eyes, she was a perfect goddess in both looks and career. And now this goddess, so far above me, was confessing her feelings to ordinary me. It was something I wouldn't even dare to dream of. I remained silent, and she kept watching me intently, as if demanding an answer. You can't be serious, right? The gap between us. Do I seem like the type of person who jokes around?" And it was true. Jessica Davis never joked. She was meticulous and serious about everything she did. "Then why? Why what? Why do you like me? Does loving someone need a reason? The moment I saw you, I fell in love. This isn't just for fun. It's the kind of love where I want to spend the rest of my life with you." As she spoke, she pulled me into her embrace. The lovely scent of jasmine filled my nostrils, my favorite fragrance. I realized then that our preferences, our habits, they were all astonishingly aligned. Looking at this stunning woman holding me, so vibrant and desirable, the feeling was incredible. I hugged her back and nodded. I didn't expect Jessica Davis to be so decisive. Right after work that same afternoon, she picked me up and took me to her villa. The sheer luxury of the place blew me away, and the interior design and layout suited my tastes perfectly. It didn't seem like the home of a single woman at all. It was fully stocked with men's things. However, a closer look revealed they were all brand new, still in their packaging. The walk-in closet was filled entirely with new clothes. "These are all for you. I knew this day would come," Jessica Davis said, perhaps sensing my confusion before I even had a chance to ask. It's getting late. We should wash up and get ready for bed. You first, or me? Or maybe, together? Seeing this woman, usually so cool and unfazed by everything, now looking at me with seductive eyes, whispering flirtatious words. It actually made me blush. Maybe I'll go first. I felt hot all over, uncomfortable, and desperately needed a cold shower to tamp down my desire. I finished showering quickly and sat awkwardly on the edge of the bed, my mind racing about what was going to happen. Suddenly, the bedroom door opened. Jessica Davis stood there in a very short slip dress that showcased her perfect figure flawlessly. Her hair was still slightly damp, her face flushed rosy from the shower, and her perfect, pale feet were bare as she walked slowly toward me across the velvet carpet. If fairies existed, they couldn't be more beautiful than this. What kind of man could possibly resist? We didn't finally fall asleep, exhausted, until the dead of night. That night, I had a very strange dream. In the dream, Jessica Davis and I were university classmates. Her family's circumstances were average, and she had a skinny boyfriend with long hair who looked like an artist type. After class, her boyfriend would always sit with his guitar, playing and singing songs he'd written himself. Most people probably thought his voice was raspy, the lyrics simple and crude without much substance, and the melodies just imitations of pop songs. Still, that didn't stop him from having a few female fans at school, and Jessica Davis was one of them. Whenever he played and sang, Jessica Davis would always sit in front of him on the edge of flower bed, her chin resting on her hands, gazing at him with pure adoration. And behind her, I watched her, unable to look away. The next morning, I woke up very late. Jessica Davis had already made breakfast. She was a decent cook, and the food was just how I liked it. I told her about the dream I'd had. Her expression flickered with surprise for just a second before she quickly recovered her smile. Did you just project your old school crush onto me? I've never been interested in music or anything like that, Jessica Davis said jokingly, though it felt partly like an explanation. But the dream felt so real, I said, still a bit shaken while eating heartily, like something from my own memory. Ethan, it was just a dream, she reassured me. Dreams are always weird. You must have just been exhausted last night. Take the day off today and get some proper rest. She gave me a meaningful look, kissed me, and then left for the office. I really was exhausted from last night, so I didn't dwell on it. I finished my breakfast and then polished off what she had left behind too. Afterward, I lay down on the sofa, fiddling with my phone. I felt like I still hadn't fully processed everything. The events of the past couple of days had been so sudden. A goddess, top tier in every single way, had actually confessed her feelings for me and was taking such good care of me. I never even dared to dream something like this could happen. After a boring day resting at home, that evening I cooked some of my favorite dishes since I didn't really know what Jessica Davis liked to eat. Anyway, whenever we went out, she always ordered things I liked. Maybe we just have the same taste. Jessica Davis came home early that afternoon. Maybe because we hadn't seen each other all day, she was incredibly affectionate, clinging to me and telling me how much she'd missed me. After dinner, things were pretty much the same as the night before, and I ended up having the same dream again. In the dream, we had graduated college. Jessica Davis's boyfriend was determined to go abroad to pursue his dream, saying people back home were too shallow. He claimed they only cared if a song sounded good or bad, completely ignoring the deeper meaning or artistry. He said the music scene at home stifled him. So, he abruptly broke up with Jessica Davis, sold off his family's assets, and they all moved abroad. Maybe his parents were brainwashed too, thinking he was some misunderstood genius. It was pouring rain the day they broke up. Jessica Davis just stood there motionless in the downpour until I finally brought her an umbrella and walked her home. Later, I heard she'd caught a bad cold, so I went to visit her in the hospital. Her family was busy, and there was no one else with her, so I stayed and took care of her until she recovered. She was clearly down during that time, and I did my best to cheer her up. When she was discharged from the hospital, she looked at me calmly and said, "Ethan Thompson, be my boyfriend." Her tone wasn't a question, it was a statement, like she was informing me I was now her boyfriend. But at the time, I didn't think anything of it. Instead, I happily agreed. We got married after working for 2 years. We'd both graduated from top universities, so naturally, the jobs we found paid well. Within a few years, we'd saved up a decent amount of money. Then she suggested we both quit our jobs and start our own company. I readily agreed. My plan was to stick with what we knew, our old line of work. But Jessica Davis insisted on starting Davis Entertainment Group. Even though our old advertising jobs sometimes involved dealing with film and TV companies, it was still a completely different field. But she was dead set on it, completely determined. Since I always gave in to her, I had a compromise. I used all the connections I'd made over the years to help her get the company off the ground. Even though my background was in design, I started teaching myself screenwriting, lyric writing, and composing online. But whenever I showed Jessica Davis the songs I'd finished, she'd look disgusted and say, "You only care about making it sound catchy. There's no depth, no real feeling to it. Turns out you're just as shallow as everyone else." Even though my work became popular with everyone else, I knew she never truly approved of it. I snapped my eyes open. Thankfully, it was just a dream, but I still felt uneasy. It felt so real. "Oh, you're awake, Ethan. Breakfast is ready. Go wash up and come eat." The Jessica Davis standing before me, her eyes full of love, was completely different from the disdainful Jessica Davis in my dream, even though they were both the woman I loved. What was even stranger was how the dream seemed to pick up right where it left off. Last night's dream connected seamlessly with the one from the night before. It was like watching a TV series. But remembering Jessica Davis's reaction when I told her about the dream last time, I decided not to mention it. She wouldn't believe me anyway. After that, Jessica Davis started treating me better and better. She remembered my birthday, gathered almost all our friends, and booked the most expensive hotel in town to celebrate. She knew how much I loved to travel, especially to Emerald Valley and Crystal Lake, places you could say have some of the most beautiful natural scenery in the world. She even made time to travel there with me. Back in school, I was focused on studying and didn't really have hobbies, except for enjoying fishing during breaks. So, she rented out the largest reservoir and, worried I might get upset if I didn't catch anything, stocked it with so many fish they were practically gasping for air. She even bought me a yacht so I could go see fishing when I got tired of freshwater. I couldn't figure out why she was being so incredibly good to me. Eventually, I settled on an explanation. I must have done something world-saving in a past life. After we'd been together for about half a year, Jessica Davis proposed. We set the date for December 12th. She took 2 weeks off work just to plan our wedding personally, booked the most luxurious hotel, and invited my favorite singer, Jade Cho, along with all the top stars in the Chinese music scene. Just because I mentioned I didn't like the loud, wild performance style common among foreign artists, she didn't invite a single international star. The wedding itself was in the traditional Chinese style we both loved. She wore a custom-made phoenix coronet and traditional wedding robes that cost millions, and she absolutely stunned everyone. After the grand wedding ceremony concluded, we were driving home when I happened to glance out the window and saw a disheveled beggar by the side of the road. His clothes were just strips of cloth tied around him, and his shoulder-length hair was matted together in clumps that looked almost like crude braids. His legs looked broken. He was lying flat on a wooden board with 4 wheels, pushing himself along the ground with his hands. Curious, I took a longer look. When I saw his face clearly, I was so shocked I forgot to breathe. Wasn't this Jessica Davis's old flame, the one from my dreams? Even though he was in such a wretched state now, you could still see that damned sleazy vibe about him hadn't changed a bit. Back then, of course, Jessica Davis had called it the decadent style of a genius misunderstood by the world. Jessica noticed me staring and glanced over herself. Then she turned my head away and pulled me into her arms. "Don't look at that filth," she said. "It's bad luck on such a happy day." Back home, after we'd washed up, we lay in bed doing what married couples do, whispering sweet nothings about how we finally belonged to each other. As I slept, I had that dream again. In the dream, our Davis Entertainment Group had become huge. I was in charge of the film and television division, while Jessica handled the music side. We'd been married for 10 years, but she still used her career as an excuse not to have children with me. Over those 10 years, I'd given her my whole heart, spoiling her completely. If she asked for the moon, I wouldn't just give her the stars. But she was always lukewarm towards me. Not cold. Exactly. Aside from not having children, she fulfilled all the duties expected of a wife. But she only just fulfilled them, as if simply going through the motions of her marital obligations. But just when I thought we'd spend the rest of our lives this way, her old flame, Alex Wilson, came back. Jessica personally took all the top executives from the music department to meet him at the airport. In the car on the way back, she signed a contract with Alex Wilson right then and there. One clause stated that making Alex Wilson a star would be the company's #1 priority for the next 10 years. By the time I found out, Jessica Davis had already released 2 albums for Alex Wilson, both filled with his own god-awful original songs. Several of them sounded suspiciously similar to other tracks, leading to plagiarism lawsuits. Jessica Davis stepped in to handle all of that, and then she personally brought him to me, asking me to just casually cast him as the lead in a couple of our company's major productions this year. I looked at the guy standing in front of me. He was sleazy even before he went abroad, and now, barely in his early 30s, he was slightly bald, kind of hunched over, constantly sniffling, and thin as a skeleton. We're not planning any horror movies this year. Maybe we'll call you if we decide to make one in the future, okay? I wasn't holding back. He should take a look in the mirror himself sometime. Want a role in a major production, and the lead role at that. Even if you were my own son, I wouldn't spoil him like this. The moment I finished speaking, Alex Wilson's face fell. My disdainful look clearly stung him. He'd seen that look plenty of times abroad over the past few years. Back home, even though his fan base was tiny, he was still admired by a very small group. But a tiny fraction of over 1 billion people isn't exactly insignificant, so he couldn't handle the contrast. He was extremely distressed at that moment, yet he didn't dare confront anyone. Even locals he annoyed would push him around without a second thought. Eventually, he resorted to creating an account on a domestic short video platform, specifically posting content that severely denigrated his own country. This gave him a sliver of balance, a self-deceiving kind. That's how he managed to keep going, basically just trying to feel relevant. He happened to hear one of his old songs on TV by chance, and later found out Jessica Davis had started an entertainment company. He managed to get in touch with Jessica Davis and then returned to the country. He first glared at me angrily, then sneered. I thought people back home would have matured a bit over the past decade. Turns out they're still so judgmental about appearances, still so superficial. Without even glancing at him, I retorted, foreigners aren't superficial? Well, I haven't seen any of their leading men looking like you. Alex Wilson was speechless from my comeback. Jessica Davis quickly stepped forward to console him briefly. Then she turned to me disapprovingly. Ethan Thompson, we were all classmates. Do you really need to be so harsh? Alex just signed a few days ago and already has 2 albums out. Our company's future depends on him. Stop. I cut her off before she could finish. I don't care what your music department does, but our film division won't use someone who's doing drugs. You've been in this business for years. You know the consequences of using problematic talent. Besides, can you even call those things he released songs? A third grader's nursery rhymes are better than that. How dare you? Accusing Alex of doing drugs, Ethan Thompson. How could you be so vicious now? I really misjudged you. Apologize to Alex right now. Jessica Davis shouted at me, enraged. I'd never seen her lose her composure like this since we first met. I shifted my gaze to Alex Wilson's face, pulled out my phone, and made a show of dialing. Apologize to him? Fine. Let me just call the police. If he's clean, I'll apologize immediately. Okay, go ahead and call. Maybe we should forget it. There's no need to bother them. It's not like it's a big deal. I still think I should focus on my music. Acting can wait. With that, Alex quickly pulled Jessica away. I woke up too. A glance at the clock showed it wasn't even 5 yet, but thinking about the dream, I just had kept me awake. So, I got up, deciding to make her breakfast. From when we met until we got married, I'd never cooked a single meal for her. She was always the one taking care of my daily life, even distrusting the maids. Just as I climbed out of bed, I saw her phone screen light up. Probably a text message. On impulse, I picked it up and glanced at it. The profile picture was of a hulking, muscular guy. That beggar has been sent abroad. Let him fend for himself from now on. Sir won't be seeing him again. My first thought was of the beggar I'd seen when we came home last night. Could it be that just because I gave him a curious look, she went to such lengths for me? Seeing the message, I didn't dwell on it. Just felt she'd gone a bit too far. Then I got up and made her a lavish breakfast. I'd always been self-sufficient, so I'm a decent cook. When she woke up and saw the breakfast, she was thrilled, hugging and kissing me over and over. As she ate, her eyes welled up with tears. This is so delicious, she choked out. It's been so long since I've tasted this. I quickly wiped her tears. Silly, it's just breakfast. Do you ever get so worked up? If you like it, I'll make it for you every day from now on. Unexpectedly, her expression turned serious. No, she said firmly. Today was my fault for sleeping in. From now on, I must be the one to take care of you. I hesitated, then finally asked the question that had been bothering me. Honey, can you tell me why you're so good to me? Honestly, I feel like I don't deserve. She suddenly stood up and covered my mouth with her soft, well-manicured hands. Darling, I'll answer this just once, and please don't ask again, okay? Because you're worth it. Maybe seeing the confusion still on my face, she offered a few more words of comfort, saying I must be tired from getting up early to cook and should take another day off. She said that after she signed a contract today and arranged things at the company, we would go on our honeymoon. Then she left for Davis Entertainment Group. I truly didn't understand how I was worth it. My professional skills were good, sure, but she made me her assistant. Honestly, plenty of people were more qualified for that job than me. And while I wasn't bad-looking, you could even say I was presentable. With her influence, she could snap her fingers and have any number of men far better than me. Besides, we hadn't known each other very long. I racked my brain, but couldn't figure out what it was about our time together that had struck her, made her think I was worth it. Worthy of such meticulous care and attention from a business tycoon. Since I couldn't figure it out, I decided to stop thinking about it. I just have to assume I really did save the world in a past life. For the next month, she and I visited all the famous tourist spots in the country. She was incredibly thoughtful and caring towards me the entire time. We had so much fun that month. I felt like I'd never been happier in my entire life. But after we returned home, that dream came back every single night, right on schedule. This year, my film and television division had produced several blockbusters, each a smash hit, making Davis Entertainment Group a fortune. On the other hand, Jessica Davis had thrown her full support behind Alex Wilson. But he wasn't popular, his music wasn't hitting the charts, he clashed with every guest on the variety shows he appeared on, and to top it all off, he was unattractive, arrogant, and bad-tempered. Everyone isolated him, and whenever he was on screen, the barrage of hateful comments completely obscured his face. Jessica, however, wasn't ready to give up on Alex. She attended late-night business dinners, begging investors to give him a chance. But these investors were shrewd and saw right through him. No one wanted to risk their project tanking by using someone with a bad reputation and a small fan base. The strain on Jessica was evident. I'd never seen her so invested in anyone before, and it pained me to see her like this. Every day, I made her nourishing soups and brought them to her. While Jessica toiled away, Alex lived a life of leisure, his social media filled with pictures of parties, fine dining, and romantic escapades. Perhaps after years of hardship abroad, he was letting loose. Jessica, already burdened with securing resources for him, also had to constantly suppress negative press. But the worst was yet to come. Following a tip-off, police raided a small apartment and arrested Alex and his friends for drug use. Apparently, everyone was partially clothed, and Alex hadn't shaken his bad habits from abroad. The drugs, the wild parties. Unsurprisingly, his career imploded. Jessica was utterly disappointed and never visited him. After his release, Alex arranged to meet with Jessica. That afternoon, they were both found dead in a private room at a coffee shop. The coroner's report indicated Jessica had been stabbed dozens of times, the cause of death being blood loss. Alex had slit his own throat. A suicide. I arranged Jessica's funeral and took over the company, slowly guiding it back on track. The following year, I met a woman who was completely devoted to me. The way she looked at me reminded me of how I had once looked at Jessica. She was wonderful to me, but I felt our 10-year age gap was too significant, and I didn't want to hold her back, so I pretended to be oblivious to her affections. Then, on Valentine's Day, she confessed her love, insisting that age was just a number and that I, a man in my 30s, was at my most charming. We ended up together, and I spoiled her. She gave me a son and a daughter. 50 years later, lying in my hospital bed, surrounded by my wife, children, and grandchildren, I closed my eyes with a smile. And then I opened them. Honey, you're finally awake. I saw your pillow was soaked with tears, and I couldn't wake you. You scare me so much. I looked at her impassively, wiped the tears from my eyes, and sat up. Must have been a dream. But don't worry, I'm here. She pulled me into her arms, stroking my head. I told her about the long dream I'd had. I could feel her body stiffen, her hand ceasing its comforting caress. She sat up straight, a panicked look in her eyes. Honey, they say dreams mean the opposite. You dreamed we had a bad relationship, but in real life, we love each other so much. Besides, I'm pregnant with our baby now. We'll definitely be happier than you in your dream. In the dream, we didn't have children, but in reality, right after we got married, Jessica started trying to conceive, and now she's 4 months pregnant. I lay in her arms, staring blankly ahead. Maybe it was because the dream felt too real. The crying of the wife and child from the dream still echoed in my ears, making it hard for me to tell which was real. 5 years flew by in the blink of an eye, and our son started kindergarten. Jessica handed over the reins of Davis Entertainment Group entirely to me, choosing to become a full-time homemaker. She meticulously took care of my daily life, managing everything perfectly. Today, I went to the office as usual. My previous assistant had resigned to go back home and get married. HR had hired a new assistant who was starting today. I got busy right after arriving at the office. Suddenly, there was a light knock on the door. Without looking up, I said, "Come in." The door opened, and someone walked in, stopping in front of my desk. "Hello, Mr. Thompson. I'm your new assistant, starting today. I look forward to working with you." I looked up. "It's you." I stared at the girl in front of me, my jaw dropped in astonishment.